Incoming transmission.
Starfleet Academy's fourth episode, Fox and Excelso, didn't just feature Klingons, it delivered what might be the most powerful and moving Klingon story in all of modern Star Trek. It reinvents them as a scattered and endangered people. Through the eyes of one cadet, it gets to the heart of what it means to be a Klingon in a way that rivals the best of classic Star Trek. So, how did this show pull that off? And why is this the perfect roadmap for the future of the Klingons in the 32nd century? I'm Will, host of Cine Nerd Presents Blurred Trek. Let's break it all down. Now, ever since Discovery jumped into the 32nd century, we've all been asking the same question. What happened to the Klingons? We saw how the burn wrecked the Federation and others, but the Klingon Empire remained a mystery. Fox and Excelso finally gives us that answer, and it's a gut punch. It's a tragedy on a massive scale. But from those ashes, it built a new future that is both respectful to the lore and refreshingly new. The episode presents the Klingons as a shattered diaspora, their homeworld gone and their culture on the verge of collapse. It's a story about honor, survival, and learning to change, all seen through one incredible character. This isn't just a good episode. It's a turning point for Star Trek's most iconic warriors, and I will say, this young series. This episode doesn't waste time with the big reveal, the burn, the galaxy-wide disaster where all active dilithium hit Kronos and detonated. The Klingon homeworld, which was covered in dilithium reactors, which powered its cities, all went critical at once, literally tearing the planet apart. Billions died instantly, and the heart of the Klingon Empire was shattered. In a single moment, the galactic superpower was reduced to a collection of nomads and refugees wandering the stars. The once proud empire of 24 great houses is now a shadow of its former self, with only 8 houses remaining, all trying to survive. Now, this is a bleak reality for the 32nd century Klingons, who are now an endangered species, and their culture is facing a slow and very painful death. And this is perfectly captured in the B story in this episode. The Federation, trying to help, offers the Klingons a new homeworld, Von Alpha, which is remarkably similar to Kronos. But the offer is rejected by the Klingon, Obel Wolek, and he is doing so because he sees that as a charity, which for Klingons whose identity is built on victory and spoils, accepting a handout is a disgrace worse than death. So that admission of failure could erase their very essence. And this really is highlighted in the conflict between him and Captain Nala Aki, which basically really does get to the core of the episode's main theme, the clash between pride and survival. Now, at the center of this tragedy is Cadet Jay-Den Kraag, the only Klingon at Starfleet Academy, played with an amazing mix of toughness and vulnerability by Kareem Dayane. Jay-Den is the Klingon's inner conflict personified. Unlike almost every Klingon we've ever seen, Jay-Den doesn't want to be a warrior. He aspires to be a healer, a doctor, a role that traditional Klingon society would see as secondary at best. But he's got it by his classmates, including Caleb, and he's mentored by Cadet Master Laura Fox, who, as we all know, is a formidable Klingon Jem'Hadar hybrid played wonderfully by Jenny Asher, who understands what it's like to live between two worlds. Now, as we all know, Klingon culture since the time of Kahless has always prioritized the warrior. Honor is earned in battle, status won with the blade. Jada's entire life has been a quiet rebellion against this ideal. And Falk helps him find his voice, teaching him that his desire to heal isn't a weakness, but a different kind of strength. With her support and his classmates, he begins to realize what he wants to live with honor, not just die with it. Now, this all comes to a head in the Starfleet Academy debate, the Aaron Satie debate, which Aaron Satie was the great speech that Jean-Luc Picard tells in the Drumhead episode in Next Generation. And he was a very learned jurist in the 24th century. But the central point here in this episode was this. Should the Klingons accept the Federation's offer? The debate quickly evolves to address the entire Klingon identity crisis. And this is where Caleb Mir challenges Jay-Den And funny enough, he uses in his arguments during the debate what was a critique by the former Starfleet officer, Lieutenant Commander Michael Editon, who became a Maquis traitor from DS9, to the point that he made to Captain Sisko. And it was this: is the Federation just a kindler, gentler empire that conquers with culture instead of weapons? And then rather use this as a critique, Caleb uses as a point to serve as a guide, which helped Jay-Den then see the problem from a new angle, which is this: is the Federation truly helping if that help requires Klingons to stop being Klingons? Through this intellectual clash, both cadets learn. Caleb begins to understand the complexities of aid, while Jay-Den is also pushed to find a solution that saves his people without sacrificing their soul. Now, after struggling with his duty, his beliefs, and the news that his family's ship has crashed, Jay-Den takes the floor. And what he says is next is pure Star Trek genius. Instead of a simple yes or no to the Federation's offer, he finds a Klingon way, a Klingon solution. And he argues that his people cannot accept Von Alpha as a gift, as it would bring them shame. However, he suggests they could take it as the spoils of war. His solution is elegant: a staged ceremonial battle between a Federation fleet and the Klingon ships. The Federation agrees to lose, allowing the Klingons to save face and conquer their new home. They claim it through a display of strength and strategy, preserving their honor. It's a victory through cunning, respecting the Klingon need for conquest, while choosing a peaceful outcome. And this is what makes Jay-Den's story so powerful. He proves that he is a warrior, not with the bat'leth, but with his mind. He demonstrates that cleverness, a trait Klingons respect as much as courage, can be the most potent weapon. In that moment, he bridges his heritage with Starfleet ideas, saving his people by allowing them to be themselves. The episode's title, Vox in Excelso, which is Latin for a voice from on high, refers to Jay-Den's speech. He becomes the voice of a new Klingon generation, one that understands you can honor a tradition by adapting to it. So what makes Vox in Excelso feel so authentic? And for me, it feels like it's a direct thematic successor to the best Klingon stories ever written in Star Trek, particularly the work of former Star Trek writer Ronald D. Moore. And he transformed the Klingons from one-dimensional villains into a complex culture on some of the most memorable episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and also Star Trek: Deep Space Nine. Moore's Klingon episodes were never about combat. They were about politics and honor, family drama, and the conflict between ancient rituals and modern realities. And Vox and Excelso fully embraces this. It depicts the Klingons not as cartoon villains, but as a proud people grappling with an unimaginable tragedy, and makes them relatable by showing us their loss and their pride. And just as Moore used characters like Martok and Worf to explore what it means to be a Klingon in a changing galaxy, this episode uses Jay-Den Kraag to push that idea even further. But where Moore's characters often found honor in battle, Jay-Den finds it through intelligence and diplomacy. And this episode, written by showrunner Viola and Eric Anthony Glover, it shows that they fully get that, and they use it as a way to have those evolution of those themes that Moore established in his Klingon episodes, that proven that Klingon culture is rich enough to tell stories about more than just fighting. The episode is filled with nods to the past, for example, the Khitomer Accords, but also and also the Organian Peace Treaty, but also it makes it feel very connected to, and that makes it feel very connected to things that came before. But also, I have to say the performances sell it all. Kareem does an absolute masterful job as Jay-Den, who had been up to this point kind of a background character, but this was a star-making episode that really shows the character's inner struggle and with raw honesty. And opposite him, guest star David Keeley as Abel Wolek is the perfect Ogar Klingon, as well as Martin Roach, who played Jay-Den's father, and the supporting actors who played the rest of Jay-Den's family as well. And then we also see another strong turn by Gina Yasher as Laura Falk. And so it really is more than just a mean old drill sergeant, but she's also very thoughtful. So to me, this episode is more than just a great Klingon episode. It's the perfect lesson of how to thoughtfully update a classic Star Trek species. It takes a devastating concept, the near extinction of the Klingons, and uses it to tell a profound emotional story about cultural identity. It poses a seemingly impossible problem and delivers a solution that is intelligent, hopeful, and completely true to the characters. By focusing on Jayden's struggle to be himself and to his heritage, this episode proves and provides a roadmap for the future of the Klingons in the 32nd century. It shows that honor can be found in a healer's hands, just as a warrior's, and the true strength lies in the ability to adapt without losing who you are. That's my breakdown of what I think makes this a landmark episode of Star Trek, but I want to hear from you. What do you think of Vox and Excelso? Was Jayden's solution for his people a stroke of genius? Was Jayden's solution for his people a stroke of genius or a compromise too far? And what does the future hold for the Klingon Diaspora? Drop all your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this analysis, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more in-depth Trek conversation here on Cine Nerd Presents Blur Trek, as well as all our shows. And make sure you ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, live long and prosper. Kapla.